This video is sponsored by Lenovo Legion and Intel. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the construction zone that is still currently SenpaiHQ. I'm not going to show you that way because that's a mess. We are almost done, but we've also been almost done for a couple months now. Also, as you can probably hear, my voice is struggling a little bit today. I'm not feeling so well. I've been a little bit sick for the last couple days. Also, it's 2:45 in the morning. You know, if I want to get better, I should probably go to sleep. But I tweeted out a question for you guys, asking your deepest, darkest questions that you have right now of the streaming, business, music, whatever industry. And you guys gave me some doozies. Let's start with the one that none of you guys want to hear. You guys asked some good questions, some hard-hitting questions. And I really appreciate that about you. Thank you. Moto Photo Reacts asks, what content creation scene is the hardest to break into at the moment? In my opinion, gaming. I think gaming is and will be one of the hardest niches to break into for a couple really good reasons. One, it's incredibly oversaturated. Everybody wants to make money playing video games nowadays. Two, it's really difficult to be creative. You're stuck sitting in one spot. Most of the content is a game that's been developed by someone else, so it's very hard to stand out. You kind of have three things that you can do. You can either, one, have a very over-the-top and entertaining personality, naturally. Mind you, people can always tell when you're faking. Two, you can be an anomaly, for example, like a really pretty girl who also is really into video games that attracts a lot of gaming viewership. Or three, you're like god tier level gamer like Shroud and people want to watch your gameplay. If you're not one of those three things, it is very, very difficult. You can even be one of those three things. It's still going to be very, very difficult. So if you're not any of those three things, it's just, you know, what do you do? But yeah, gaming in general, I know it's not what you want to hear right now, but that is a very, very difficult niche to get into at the moment. Before we move on, let's give a huge thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Lenovo, and their Legion 5i gaming laptop. With the 11th gen Intel Core processors inside, this laptop was built to game with lightning fast speeds. And when you combine that with being able to put up to an RTX 3070 inside, well, you've got an absolute monster on your hands. A sleek and stylish monster that would look good both at the office or at your streaming battle station because, you know, with the NVENC encoder inside this, you're gonna have a buttery smooth stream. It's got up to 8.9 hours of battery life that can fast charge from 0 to 80% in just 1 hour. Better airflow to game longer without thermal throttling. A legendary True Strike keyboard with soft landing switches that mimic deep keystrokes. And boosted frame rates with Lenovo Legion AI Engine's auto optimization that recognizes the game you're playing and optimizes power distribution to your CPU and GPU to deliver you the highest possible frame rates. True story, we actually used this laptop for a 2-week-long live stream of the Senpai Records recording studio while the framers were building it. That way the designer of the studio could watch the process across the country. Never shut it down the entire time. Don't think it dropped a single frame. So check out the Lenovo Legion 5i, the link in the description below. Rizzo Maniac asks, what are the top 10 tax write-offs you can have as a content creator / YouTuber / streamer? First off, always consult an actual accountant, CPA, whatever. I am not an accountant. I am not here to give legal tax advice. However, I can tell you as someone who has turned every single hobby of his into a business, you can write off a lot. Legitimately, not as like a loophole where I'm cheating the system, but as someone who has turned nearly every hobby of mine into a business, there are some pros and there are some cons to that. One, anything I buy for a hobby is a tax write-off. Gaming mouse, tax write-off. Every video game is a tax write-off. Every monitor, PC part, musical instrument, because I own a record label, like it's all legitimate tax write-offs. When I first started my music career with my wife, I went to Guitar Center and I said, here's my phone number, print off every single thing I have purchased over, I think I said over $50 or something. And they went over the last 10 years of me buying stuff from Guitar Center and they printed out every single receipt and I gave them to my accountant and we wrote them all off because I was in startup mode and they'd never been written off before. The downside of turning your hobbies into businesses is you now no longer have hobbies. Now, every one of my hobbies is now my job, and that takes its toll. Stephen Ellis, who, by the way, used to be a professional gamer, is now a better business person than I will ever be, says most creators struggle with expanding into new content / businesses when their existing content demands so much of their time. What's your take on balancing pushing into new areas, for example, music and tech, with your content engine would be interesting. Yeah, so that is the big next step for a lot of content creators is I think the next big innovators in this space and the next big entrepreneurs in the business world are the current content creators. I mean, we've been primed and we've learned to be self-motivated and self-disciplined, and we see we're always on the cutting edge of where the industry is going. So it makes sense for us to have business insights that most companies can't have. But being a content creator does take up a lot of time. For example, I now, and this is not a flex because this is probably irresponsible of me, I want to say I have like 8 LLCs, 8 completely separate businesses at the moment, from a record label to something new I can't tell you about, to a YouTube channel, to a real estate company. And I would say of those 8 companies, the YouTube channel here probably takes up 90% of my time, yet it only returns about 10% of the income, which you can imagine is probably really frustrating. It also takes up about 90% of my stress level. So you can see I'm not a fan of the direction of the channel at the moment, which is why I've kind of made the silent vow to myself that as I continue to make more businesses, every one will require less and less effort from me, because as these businesses snowball, I'm able to build a team around those. I'm able to afford to have a team around any new ventures I go into, and I can spend less time putting effort into them. I'm also getting smarter, and I have more resources at my fingertips. As you grow, that's something you'll notice, by the way. You'll either have more money, more talented people around you, more knowledge about the industry, and you're able to make more efficient business decisions. And I've just found that that's kind of the secret of continuing the snowball moving forward, is being more and more efficient, getting a greater ROI day to day. But I gotta do something about this channel, man. It's gonna be the death of me. I feel like, do you guys ever do that P90X thing? Do you guys remember Abraper X, where the guy's like, I hate it, but I love it.
I hate it, but I love it.
Do you always have to wear pants when streaming if all of your cameras are from the torso up? Let me tell you, by the way, first of all, no. You will not find me streaming without pants on. That's too risky. Live, anything happens when it's live. What if you forget and you stand up? And I say that as someone who used to be a professional viner for a living, and half of our vines, my wife and I weren't wearing pants. I mean, we were in our first year of marriage. We were never wearing pants. But there was a rule of thumb with our vines. If you can't see below our waists, we probably weren't wearing pants. A friend of the channel, Ashley Christ, says, how do you feel about Web3? Yeah, dude, the gaming space, gaming Twitter, streaming Twitter, and NFTs, they don't mix. I would say gaming Twitter in general is probably the most gatekeepy community I've ever seen, and for some fair reasons, by the way. I want to get into this. I want to get into my interpretation of this. So if you disagree with me, let's have a discussion about it. Leave it in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your take. Hear my take out first. I think one of the reasons there's a lot of gatekeeping and a lot of general resistance to new tech in the gaming world, where you'd expect there to be a lot of innovation, is the nature of gaming itself. Gaming is a comfort activity. Right? It's what we do. It's about the nostalgia. It's about bringing us back to when we finished all our homework and we played video games with friends and you forgot all of your concerns. It's why we love playing nostalgic games like Mario or Pokemon or Halo. It brings us back to a very innocent time. I know at least that's why I play a lot of video games. It helps me forget. And so if you take this comfort zone activity and you try to push it forward, you try to innovate, and you push this comfort zone out of your comfort zone, it's no longer a comfort zone, and it's a complete contradiction. So I think when you see a lot of new things coming into the space, there's a knee-jerk reaction to kick it back out. I also think, and this is another valid reason, I think a lot of gamers, myself included, we were very ostracized growing up, right? We played video games when they weren't cool to cope with the fact that we didn't have a lot of friends. And so we're very wary of people and companies taking advantage of us. And when you see these companies issuing what people perceive as scammy, which, by the way, tons of NFTs are huge scams right now. I don't think anyone denies that. There's a lot of scamming going on in the industry. And what feels like general scummy behavior with us as the scapegoat, you push it out. So those, in my opinion, are both very valid reasons to generally be hesitant of the NFT space. But I think when you get too many like-minded people together, it ends up turning into something a little bit more toxic, a little bit more mob mentality, which is why you now get a lot of blanket statements like NFTs are scams and are bad for the environment. However, when 100 Thieves drops their own digital, it was an NFT. They called it a digital collectible because they didn't want to use the word NFT, which I fully understand. When they drop their digital collectible and they do it on the Polygon blockchain, which is proof of stake, not proof of work, which if you don't know what that means, basically requires zero extra energy. So there's no environmental impact. And also they don't sell it, it's free. So there's no financial incentive, there's no scam, but you still have the gaming community yelling and crying, saying, I don't get into the NFT space. I'm so disappointed in you. There's clearly a cognitive dissonance going on here, and it's no longer about the actual issues with it anymore. It becomes more about sharing with the world that you are morally superior to someone else by being against something that you have no interest in. And it's a bummer. But I think because of this, I think the gaming industry is gonna take a longer time to adopt this new technology that I think has a lot of potential than the other industries. I think a big area where NFTs have huge potential is the music industry, especially when you have things like concert tickets or backstage passes that can now be verified on the blockchain. You can hold as a digital collectible forever. When more and more things are going digital, you're not going to be able to hold things physically anymore. I know I've lost my first ticket stub to my first Avenged Sevenfold concert, which is a bummer. I would love to still have that around, and if it was tied to my digital wallet, I think that'd be great. But where I'd love to actually try stepping my foot into the NFT game is when we release massive singles with Stream Beats Originals, maybe we collaborate with large artists. I'd love to release the original demo of the track with Ryan's voice still on it or something, like release 5 copies, sell 5 copies of that demo as an NFT. Because, I mean, if I could have a demo disc of an Avenged Seventh, like an original demo disc of an Avenged Sevenfold album, like, oh my gosh, that would be my prized possession. But nobody has demo discs anymore. The physical discs don't exist, they're all digital. So having an NFT where there are only 5 copies that exist and actually being able to like show like, hey, I own the demo of this album, I think is a really big opportunity. I'm excited to explore that space. So we'll see. I hope to be wrong. As NFTs are becoming much more environmentally friendly and you'll see a lot more people using them in a way that actually provides value, I'd love to see the gaming industry start to adopt it a little bit more and not be quite so gatekeepy. But that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear yours. Leave it in a comment down below. Level AFK asks, how well do you think YouTube Gaming is competing with Twitch at the moment? What could they do to improve? What could they do to improve? Oh man, I think any person who's never run a business would say what I want to say, which is move faster. I'm dying for 2 things on your platform. I'm dying for gifted memberships, which they're alpha testing in Japan right now, maybe beta testing, not sure. And a better clips ecosystem. I want to be able to have viewers clip stuff and then I can go back through the clip and download them and use that for content. But right now I have to clip and flashback record everything myself and I miss a lot of stuff. However, they have already made moves that we've been yelling at Twitch to make for 3 years and they clearly have no intention of making. Did you see the new Live Now notification? When you're seeing a video on, I think it's just on mobile right now, but maybe you're watching a video of someone who goes live, you scroll down to their profile picture, there's a red circle around it with the word live under it. And it shows you, hey, this person whose video you're watching, they're live. Go check out their live stream. I'm not gonna say that idea was from me.
When I'm live, I want a little banner on every single one of my videos.
But I'm not gonna not say that. Honestly, they were probably working on that long before I said that. But this tweet happened from a YouTube employee. I need to print that out and put that on my wall. Masked Ultra asks, how do we go about streaming as a neurodivergent person, ADHD, autistic myself? There seems to be a lot of bullies and trolls when it comes to us as creators. As someone with, this is such a difficult conversation to navigate. I haven't talked about it a lot in these videos, but as someone with Asperger's myself, very minimal, high functioning, I understand that. And it requires learning a lot of skills that are not natural. I've been making YouTube videos now for 7 or 8 years. If you go back to my very first YouTube videos versus now, I have a completely different presence on camera. I had to forcefully learn social skills, which was very difficult. And so I kind of had to brute force those in there by observing a lot of YouTubers that I looked up to, and then also watching my YouTube videos back and nitpicking a lot of my own little mannerisms. And I still miss a lot of social nuances. It's just gonna be the playing field. But what I could recommend, by the way, is rather than trying to be just like everyone else, which, face it, you're not going to be as good at. It's just not gonna happen. I would say try to embrace what makes you different, because while those neurodivergences will provide you weaknesses in areas where most people are strong, they generally also give you strengths in very rare strengths that most people don't have. And if you can learn to utilize those and kind of embrace those strengths that not a lot of people have, it gives you an opportunity to be unique. And again, everybody's different, and I don't want to say what's right and what's wrong, but I would encourage you not to be the ADHD autistic streamer and use it as a crutch per se, or as a gimmick, but rather embrace what makes you you, and utilize it to bring value to other people that your typical creator has a hard time bringing. I think it requires more work than most people are willing to give, which is why it's very rare in the space, especially when it comes to social nuances, which is a very important part of content creation. But I do think there are slight advantages there that have to be uncovered and have to be searched for, but they exist. So good luck to you and to everyone else who's watching this who is neurodivergent. I believe in you, and I think you can do great things. But now to wake up Scott at 3:15 in the morning and send him all this footage so he can edit it before I wake up. Just kidding. I would never do that. Let's cut that out. That was terrible. Or leave it in. I don't care. If you haven't seen it yet, the intro that we did on the beginning was actually, we did it on a video on this channel. I had 3 Fiverr artists create different intros. So if you want to see that, I'll link that down below. I'll post it right on one of these sides or whatever. So go watch that one next. And as always, happy streaming.